Greetings, I'm Miss Zorth. I teach 9th grade English here at Tremper High School, and I'm here to help you with your summer project. I have an incoming freshman myself, and I can see how just diving into this without any instruction would be difficult. So I'm going to make a series of videos. This is the first one today. I figured since today was the first day of summer gym, the second session, that it felt like the beginning of school for me. So here I am in my classroom, videoing my flip chart. Animal Farm is the summer read for 9th grade. So what summer read means is that if you intend to take honors here at Tremper, then the point here is that learning never stops. We chose for this year Animal Farm, which we read last year during the school year, and we had a little project with it. We'll probably do a project in class, kind of cool project, fun thing I think you guys will like in the first month of school. But also this is for you to read in the summer. It's not very long. I think it's around 100 pages. And it's an enjoyable book. Almost all the students that read Animal Farm liked it. So we chose to make it the summer read, so that what you read in the summer is more fun. If I were you, I would take a chapter a day and get going. I'm going to give you an introduction today on what you have to do, and a little bit about the book. So if you have a look, anytime, of course, when you're watching, you can pause it and have a look. So this is what I want you to see. I want you to see a group of covers of the novel and video sometimes, and I want you to have a look at it. Tell me what you see. Do you see a happy book? Think about emotion. Think about characters. Think about what might happen. Think about comparisons and the choices that the people who drew these covers made on what the animals look like and what kind of features of an animal might be different. So think about that first, because when you're reading the book, it will help for you to look at covers like this. Animal Farm was written by George Orwell, and you can read all about somebody online. So this is my first tip to you. You get a book, look at covers like this, do an image search, and then go online on Google and just do a search about the author, about the book, so you can read about it. I put like a little couple of URLs at the end of this so that you can see what I think will be useful for you to read. It doesn't hurt for you to read summaries. Some of my students who have a difficult time comprehending something that they read at the beginning like to read summaries, but don't read the whole summary. Read summaries by chapter. You can almost always find them on Sparks Notes. Online, or No Fear is usually the one for Shakespeare, but it's all connected. So Animal Farm is an allegory, and what an allegory is a bunch of metaphors, not just one, but all of the characters and events, all of that represents something else in real life that most people, when they read it, would know. So it's almost like an inside joke, like you say that the duck represents this or that. I mean, you could do it with the movie Babe, where all the animals kind of have their role, and that role usually is a single-sided role. Well, in an allegory, a lot of times it refers to certain people and a certain event or a time in history. So an author can kind of make fun of someone without saying their name, but everybody kind of is in on the joke. So Animal Farm is an allegory of Russian history from 1917 to 1943. So Orwell is making fun of or poking holes in the story of Russian history. So things didn't go the way they wanted, there was a revolution, and after the revolution things seemed exactly the same. So I want you to pause when I get to the next page and look at the activity, and just for kicks, see what you can do. And my other teacher tip is make sure that you read up. So when you find that there's a hole in your knowledge, it's your job to go back and fill it in. It's not necessarily the teacher's job. So I'm going to show you the next slide, and it's your job to pause it, have a try, get out a piece of paper, try it 1 through 14, and then I'll go to the next slide, and it'll have the answers on it. So you have to pause. Don't cheat. So there are 14 things from the book, and there are 14 things from the Russian Revolution, or the history of Russia after 1917. So you should match them up to here, like this. I'll do the first one for you. So in your paper, you can just number them, and then you can try to match them up. So now you need to pause. Okay, here are the answers. So pause it again and correct your answers. So what I have next are some things that you can read. I mean, reading to somebody and looking at a slide is kind of boring. So, but I have them here, and I'm going to put it in a PowerPoint for you guys to access through Google Drive. So you can see that each character and activities represent something. So later on, you're going to have to choose a character or something in the book that you yourself are going to trace all the way through. So if you want to trace Mr. Jones all the way through, then you're going to highlight Mr. Jones and things that contribute to you understanding the character of Mr. Jones. So we get Mr. Jones symbolizes. So these are like some kind of answers to like kickstart your learning. Mr. Jones symbolizes Tsar Nicholas, the leader before Stalin, who is represented by Napoleon. So you can see that it's here. Jones represents the old government, the last of the czars. Orwell suggests that Jones was losing his edge. So at the end of Russia, the czars were losing their edge. So Orwell shows this by having a character called Mr. Jones, who's in charge of the farm and is losing his edge. He's losing his ability to run his farm effectively. He's losing his ability to control what the animals think and how they work, and then the animals are going to notice that they don't like it, and then they're going to have a revolution. The same thing happened with the Tsars of Russia. So that's what allegory does. It compares a character in the book, a fictitious character, with someone in real life, so that they can poke fun at this idea of them losing their edge. Old Major is the first major character. This is a super special, grandfatherly pig, very appealing character, and he's the metaphor for Karl Marx. So the metaphors just continue through, and because there are so many series of metaphors, and the whole situation refers to another situation, which is the Russian Revolution, Russian history after 1917. That is what an allegory is. So if you just keep paying attention to what they represent. Now, if you're not familiar with Russian history, like I said, you read a little bit and you'll know what's going on. I would go back into this document that I'm going to share with you guys and read through these. And I'm sure I stole this from somewhere, so go look for it. I forgot where it was, sorry. So we get Mr. Jones, Old Major. So if you've already started reading, you've definitely met Mr. Jones and Old Major. We have Comrade Napoleon, and they even use this like comrade, this Marxist terminology. Molly, there's pigeons. I mean, there's a lot of characters you probably wouldn't think about at the very beginning. Dogs, and there are several dogs in the book, and you can see how they're used, and it would be the same way that Stalin used the KGB. Boxer, I think, is a great character to choose to trace through, just because he just does so much. Snowball is fun. It's just fun. Moses, Muriel, another horse. And then you get things that aren't exactly. So I want you to read these. Just pause and read them, and it will kind of give you a little cheat sheet on the characters for Animal Farm. Okay, let's move to the assignment. The assignment is shared with you on Tremper's webpage. So I'm going to show you where we are here. If you go to Tremper's webpage, you can see always, Tremper, let me move this, tremper.kusd.edu. The left has important resources for you. You'll see every single one of you gets Gmail and Google Apps. And this is, the teachers can contact you. You put in somebody's first and last name, they'll find them. So you don't even have to know people's email address. It's just an easy way to get in contact with people. But I'll be sharing things with you once school starts, because I'll be able to have all your email addresses in a course list. And most of the things here, let's see, summer school Summer school registration is over. But you can see when registration is. So if you're new and you haven't registered yet, but this is the registration for people who've already been here. This is for people, see appointment required. So this is you guys. You need to come one of these days and get your schedule. And then here, look, really big, pretty stars, summer reading assignments. And if you click on here, it will have the classes. So here's English 9, this is us, Mr. Momartz, Miss Geringer, and Miss Zorth. That's the three of us. You can get a Word document or a PDF, which is like a picture. So I'll show you what it looks like. This is your assignment. Your assignment is basically just the book. So you need to read the book and you need to make markings in the book. And there are two kinds of markings. Close reading is just you interacting with the book. So that when I take your book from you the very first day of school, I can see what you were thinking when you read the book. So these are some of the things you might want to write in the margin. So what you're going to be doing is like writing. So imagine this piece of paper is a page in the book. And you can write up and down the sides. You can write like this. You could put Post-it notes. They get a little bit of a pain, especially if they stick out. Then you can't. So I would not make them stick out. I'll see them. So that's the first thing. So questions, summaries, synthesis, your reactions. But I shouldn't just see like wow or oh goodness or whatever in the margins. It has to show that you've thought about the book, thought about what's going on. The question that I think if you ask yourself, and you'll always do a really good job, is what is the author trying to tell me here, and why did they choose this way to do it? So if the author uses some sarcasm, which is verbal irony, why did he do that? Or what's he trying to compare here? Or may even make predictions. That's kind of fun. So you'd be like, oh, I think later on that this character is going to die. However you want to think it out. Or I wonder how long Napoleon's going to let this go on. Or Orwell hinted at this here because he doesn't want to say it outright. But I think he's trying to tell me that this is what's going on. So think about that. Write full sentences, write notes, write reactions, that's fine. But reactions are the easiest one. That's like what I call fireworks reading. It's like watching the fireworks and going, ooh, ah. So you don't want to do your book just like that. That's elementary. This is high school. All you have to really do, and that's the most important thing, and I teach my students this for 2 weeks at the very beginning of school, show me that you can think, and think for yourself. Because I bet all of you are really good at doing what somebody else told you to do. But now it's time for you guys to really think for yourself. Okay, the second part of marking. So this first part of marking is just you reacting to the book and writing in the margins. The second part is highlighting. Now, don't forget that when you highlight, you should write. So I always say, people aren't sure about something. Well, as soon as you highlight, like, is this a metaphor, Mrs. Orth? Well, yeah. Or I don't know, tell me why you think it's a metaphor is what I usually say. So write in the margin why you think it's a metaphor. Metaphor compares two things by saying it is that. So write what two things are equal to each other, and then you'll be in the right place. I might skip for Animal Farm all of the allegory kind of metaphors and use other kinds of metaphors, but because I think you might overload it. But I don't think we actually asked for a metaphor here, but never mind. So it says to track these elements throughout the whole novel. There's a key already, so you can see that it asks you to use pink for symbolism, blue for irony. So you're going to highlight, but then you write about it. And look, there's little definitions. Propaganda, green, and theme, which is yellow, character, which is orange. So you need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 highlighters in pretty standard colors. You could use pens. You could use a nice thin like Crayola marker from a regular Crayola marker pack. It doesn't really matter. So then those are the standards, which I'm sure you don't care about. So that's the assignment. You can get it on Tremper's website, and you should print it and put it in your book. Come to school if you need to print it and you need help. So this is your assignment. So the first thing you're going to look for are symbols, things that represent or stand for something else, especially a material object, a thing, representing something abstract, like a heart, or a smiley face representing happiness, or even sunshine, or any emoticon type of thing is a symbol, that's for sure. But also that a letter could symbolize your relationship with somebody a long time ago, or a little charm on a bracelet could symbolize something like a vacation that you had, or a T-shirt, something that has like more story. So you would trace the symbols, you would highlight them pink, and in the margin you could say, so you might highlight flag, and then because they raise a flag, flags are all symbolic, our flag is symbolic, and you write in the margin what it symbolizes. I mean, that would be a whole fun study in itself. We were watching the World Cup, and I was thinking about how fun it is to look at the flags and what do the colors symbolize and why are there stars. I mean, we have a really complicated flag. Some people can just take those cool grease pencils and they have a flag on their face. We have a way complicated flag, and it tells a story. So it's a story of a lot of our country's history. It's a detailed story. So, you know, what do the colors on other countries' flags symbolize? So you would write in the margin, this flag symbolizes blah, 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 blah. Like who's in charge, why they're in charge, you know, why does the color symbolize, those kinds of things. A name can symbolize something, right? Like a title symbolizes, like if you have your doctorate and you get called Dr. Orth, which would be really cool, then your that doctor, that title is a symbol of your hard work, intelligence, perseverance, and education, lifelong learning. It's a symbol for more than just what it is. So watch for those things that aren't just something like, oh, I put on a T-shirt today. Well, that doesn't symbolize anything, but there might be something special about what you wear. Excuse me. Okay, the next thing you're looking for is going to be irony, actually, but I want to talk about satire first. Satire is verbal irony, usually. It's where you say the opposite of what you mean. That's verbal irony. Okay, I had a coughing attack, but I'm back to now. So, satire, using humor to make fun of something. So this is where Orwell kind of actually got in trouble, because England was trying to use Russia as their ally against Germany in World War II. So what was happening is that he couldn't even get his book published because it was so obvious that this story about these animals on a farm who started a revolution, an uprising to overthrow the Mr. Jones, the current man in charge. So it was so obvious that that was a series of metaphors that referred to Russian history, that they didn't want to, no publisher wanted to be the one to say, oh yeah, we're going to do this, we're going to make fun of our allies, because they needed them. So it was very difficult for George Orwell actually to get his book published. So even when you're using symbols and metaphor, it's a little bit difficult sometimes to make fun of people without them knowing. So Animal Farm is considered to be a satire. So we have an allegory and a satire. It's really important, two things where I think almost anybody would be able to talk about Animal Farm, would be able to say those two things. So that's just background knowledge. Irony is using your meaning, and saying the opposite of what you mean, or that's verbal irony. Dramatic irony, that's sarcasm. Oh, aren't we having great weather today and it's crappy outside? Dramatic irony is interesting. Dramatic irony is when the characters on stage, somebody on stage doesn't know something the audience knows, or the reader. So it's great in plays, right, where somebody knows something and somebody doesn't know something, but the audience does. So then all their actions make them kind of look like a fool. The same thing totally happened to me, where one day everybody knew something. All my friends knew something. My kids, their friends, the kids' friends' parents, everybody knew, and I did not know. And then I learned about it later in the day, and I went back and looked, and I'm like, wow, I look like a fool all day because I kept saying things that showed that I didn't know that this event had occurred, and it's just stupid. So that's dramatic irony. So if you know something the characters don't know, that's dramatic irony. And situational irony is like the funny situation that you get into that is the opposite of what you expect. So like the classic ones are the firefighter's house burns down, or the cop gets robbed, or some other funny ones that a math teacher came up with this year were at the end of the summer season, all the lifeguards get together at the beach to have a party, and while they're partying, because nobody drowned that year and there were no events, no sad events, and while they're having their party to celebrate this, someone drowns. That's situational irony. So the situation is the opposite of what you expect. Okay, so that's irony. You're going to trace that in which color? Let's look. Blue. So you're going to trace that in blue as you go through. Propaganda is something that I'm telling you, this is like your lifelong learning moment. It happens to be an Animal Farm, but it's everywhere. Every advertisement you see, every political cartoon, everything you look at. And it goes back to a little bit of satire, you can use all the other techniques with it. Propaganda is information, especially misleading information, used to promote or publicize a particular political cause or point of view. People who want you to buy something, or vote for somebody, or believe in their cause, or give them money, anything, they're using propaganda, where they don't tell you the whole story, or they use words that you can't disagree with, like supporting our troops. So if you just like Google search, now this is just another teacher tip, nobody has to do all this extra work for you. You have to do it, and it only ever takes a moment. You look up online types of propaganda, and then you read about it, and then you look for those things while you're reading the book, and you're going to highlight them. I need to remember the colors. Green. So everyone has to have the same color. So if I open a book and I see green, it's going to be propaganda. No exceptions. I don't care if you underline or highlight or bracket or circle, but it has to be the right color. So that's propaganda. You can see it in political cartoons. I think I took one. So here's one I found online. I just looked for political cartoons and satire, and you can look at it. Dude, best sequel ever. X-Apes, Dawn of the Age of the Transformers. So it's just this making fun of what? So tell me what they're making fun of. I'm not even going to say it. But there must be a bunch in here. Oh. Nice. World Cup satire. So they're trying to get you to believe what they believe. So they have like an opinion, and they want you to believe it. They want you to think it. So they do it with maybe something funny, poking fun, etc. So when you see propaganda, it'll be green. Theme is an idea that goes all the way through the text. You can draw it all the way through. An idea that a writer repeats. So think of it as like a thread in a rug, or something that repeats over and over again. And a theme is different than a subject. And I want you to look at this. Like, it's about love, or it's about death, or it's about coping with disease, or I don't know. That's like a subject to me. A theme is what the author wants to tell you. So if I say power is a subject of Animal Farm, then let's make it into a sentence, and then we'll get a theme. If you say the theme, and a lot of people make this mistake, if you say the theme is a one-word thing, you're almost always saying a subject. A theme is something that the author wants to tell you. The author has an opinion that they're trying to prove with their words. So this is the theme. We gave it to you so that you would have no problem coming up with it. Thirst for and abuse of power can corrupt an individual or group. So you have a little uprising, and you want to make things better. So you get rid of Mr. Jones on the farm, and then something happens on the farm. Oh, we're all supposed to be equal. Everyone's supposed to be happy. Everyone's supposed to get enough food. Everyone works as much as they can. But then some people thirst for, want, and abuse power. And what happens to that person? What is that kind of power? How does that change someone? and watch for it in your regular daily life. So if Orwell thinks that this happened in Russia, I'm sure he thinks it happens elsewhere, and it's your job to look for it, how he portrays that in the book. And you're going to highlight it, I think it is yellow. So you're going to highlight the theme yellow. So anytime you think you found something that contributed to the theme, you would highlight it in yellow, and then you would make sure that you comment in the margin how that, right, even if you just wrote power, or if you wrote corruption, meaning that somebody's doing some, misusing their power. So they have extra resources because they're at the top of the food chain, we could even call it. And so then they take more to eat than everyone else. Is that fair? So that kind of corruption in Animal Farm is what you're going to be watching for. So the people who have power, just watch what they do with it, highlight it, and then make comments. And like, you can even comment on someone's character, like, I don't like this person because, or this animal. The last thing that you're looking for, I'm almost done, is characterization. In characterization, you use humor, irony, exaggeration, the way people act, or any, oops, sorry, this is wrong. This is totally wrong. Hold on. Haha, I'm back. That's what cut and paste does to you sometimes. The process by which a writer reveals the personality of a character. So they can do that directly by saying, Jody is funny. So that would be a way of directly saying what the person's like. Or you could say, Jody told a joke today and everyone was laughing themselves out of their chairs. So that would be a way of us showing that Jody's funny and she likes attention from the group. You can make conclusions based on what the author, the writer, the person telling says. So they give the character. So you're supposed to, you've got to pay very close attention to this. You're not going to do all the characters. That would be silly, right? Just to like highlight the character's name. What you need to do is, again, show that you've thought. Take a major player in the plot of the novel. Please do not choose Old Major. That's going to be a problem for you. I would choose someone major character. And you might need to read in a little bit and then come back and choose, but maybe even choose one that I already showed you in the slides. So choose one to track and write observations about them in the margin. So if you chose Boxer, every time you see Boxer, you're going to highlight in orange, and then you're going to say how what just happened contributes to what you know about the character of the animal or the person. So you write it in the margin, Boxer is this kind of animal, and Boxer's role in the novel is to do this, etc. So choose one, not all of them. So I'm not going to say highlighted just words everywhere. I need actions or words that show you what the character of the animal is, what the person is like, what the animal's like. So that's all you have to do. You have commenting in the margin, and then highlighting and interpreting these literary devices. Because when an author writes something, they don't just once upon a time there was a dog that got warm on a walk and drank water, the end. That's a boring story. It doesn't reveal anything, and it doesn't use any literary terms, literary devices to make it interesting for you. But this is how writers work. They use symbols, they use irony, because then they tell you things indirectly. You have to figure things out for yourself. It's much more interesting to read these kinds of works than it is to read something that's just thrown out there like a children's story. So look for those things, highlight them, and then comment about what you highlighted in the margin, so that when I read your book, I can see what you were thinking. And that's really the process of close reading. Close reading shows the person who looks at your book what you were thinking while you were reading, but it also gives you almost something back to look back at. So if we sit down in class to have a discussion, how many of your teachers have stepped and started and said, okay, well, does anybody have any questions about what they read for today? And nobody ever raises their hand, ever. The teacher waits 2 seconds and moves on with their agenda. But really, the process, if you've thought while you read, it isn't necessarily that you have a question, although that would be another great thing to write in the margin. It's the idea that you've interacted with the book and you have like notes. And what if you just sat down in a group of 4 or 5 people and said, okay, well, what did you highlight and why? And, oh, I didn't notice that. And you can start kind of conversation about what you've read. So not only are you interacting with the book yourself, but you're interacting with other people. And you have concrete evidence in your hand. And that's what close reading does for you. If you say animal farm's an allegory, well, you better be able to say at least 2 sentences after you do that. And those kinds of sentences are the things that you've written in the margin. So if you open any page of your book, there should be something there to talk about. Something that you noticed, something that you were curious about, something that you had a question, something you didn't like, something that scared you, or something that made you have a connection. All of those things are awesome things to write in the margin. And I know I'm going to read awesome books from you guys. We have 2 sessions this summer where you can come in and meet me and Mr. Momartz, and hopefully Miss Geringer too. I haven't talked to her. Where you can meet us and ask us questions. Bring your books, bring your highlighters, and we'll talk to you again. So thanks. I'll put up another video soon.